Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hey everyone, it's Matthew Zachary, and if you've been following my work since the Cancer Mavericks, then listen up, because my next big thing is here, and it's called Walk It Off, Men Don't Talk About Cancer. And it's the first podcast documentary series where men with cancer talk about, well, everything they're not supposed to talk about. Sex, shame, rage, silence, caregiving, vulnerability. It's raw, it's honest, it's long overdue, and it's everything you'd expect from me. The trailer just dropped. So subscribe today and get ready to binge all 3 episodes when the series premieres on September 11th. It's personal, it's powerful, and it's time. To learn more and to have a listen, visit walkitoffpod.com. That's walkitoffpod.com, or just search for Walk It Off, Men Don't Talk About Cancer wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. My guest today, live here in studio, is my dear friend Risa Arin, who self-proclaimed is on a mission to help people live healthier lives, and I can attest to that because she's a badass. She's a Cornell graduate, so of course we dote on Wegmans, because I think that's par for the course. And if we didn't, someone would come after me who also went to Binghamton and say, how can you talk to someone who went to college upstate and not talk about Wegmans? Like me, she's also an agency person. She spent probably way too much time selling Doritos to teenagers, but at the end of the day, she pivoted to digital health marketing and communications and really got a sense that it all kind of sucks. Empathy and marketing communications for healthcare? Nope. Sorry. She was just featured in Time magazine for an article she penned entitled 10 Questions You Should Always Ask at Your Doctor's Appointments. She also walks the walk and talks the talk. She is a cancer caregiver and the founder of expertpatient.com. That's XPERT, expert without the E. We're going to get into nomenclature and branding, but she's here. She's awesome. It's a great conversation. Enjoy the show.
I have to get used to this. Okay.
You don't like your voice?
No, it's okay. No, I'm just getting used to the whole
wearing headphones?
The whole setup.
In a studio?
Yeah.
It's nice here, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
It's like a man cave. It's my man cave.
Thank you for inviting me to your man cave.
Oh, come on. This is long overdue.
Absolutely. I think it's been a number of years we've been going back and forth.
It really has been. And I noticed that we have like infinite things in common. We were talking before the show. We could reveal it to the listeners. And like, I feel like we are siblings from other, other ancestry would find us related in some way, cousins or whatever. And I did want to start there with, I think, what might be a common thread. So you went to Cornell.
I did.
And I went to Binghamton.
Oh.
When did you discover Wegmans?
Probably day one on drop-off when I needed some food, desperate to get away from campus food. And that was the beginning of our love affair, for sure.
So if I tell you that Wegmans was part of my orientation, would you believe me?
At Binghamton, yeah. There's just not much going on in Binghamton.
No. You're coming from downstate, as we both had, where you used to like Pathmark and Walbaum's and
a lot of ShopRite time.
ShopRite, A&P,
Acme, yeah. No Acme, definitely a lot of ShopRite and A&P.
And then boom, Wegmans. What's this? Where you been all my life?
Exactly.
Yeah. Why Cornell?
Well, my brother actually went to Cornell. He played football My brother actually went to Cornell. He played football for Cornell. And I went and spent a weekend up there with him and his crew. And besides loving the whole football scene, I'm a big sports fan. I just love the campus. I fell in love with the campus, with the area.
It's huge.
It was amazing. But the school spirit, it's not the best across the board in sports, but there's still so much spirit there, to the point where when I actually went there, I worked the stands. I worked the VIP section selling hot cocoa to the alumni as my college job at the football game. So definitely fell in love with it.
I almost went there. Did they have the SUNY program when you went there?
They did. And I grew up in New York, so there's actually, I think, 3 of the schools are considered state schools.
Yeah. I almost went to the Ag Life College.
Agriculture, School of Agriculture.
Yeah,
for sure.
SUNY Ag Life was what the program was. And I realized that Binghamton had better music, and I was a musician, and I wanted to figure out, I didn't want to be like a band director, but I wanted there to be like a substantial like fine arts thing. So I kind of towed the line between Ag Life at Cornell and I'll find something at Binghamton.
Yeah.
But Wegmans, common thread.
But Wegmans is definitely the way to go.
Yep. We talked before the show about our common threads of going to camp.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped shape you?
I don't know. I actually didn't spend
summer camp for the listeners.
Yeah, summer camp for sure. I spent more time at day camp than actually going away. The only sleepaway camp I actually went to was tennis camp. I was a big tennis player growing up.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
What's tennis camp like?
Tennis camp
like crazy competitive?
It was a little intense. Yeah, so I started playing varsity tennis in 8th grade, so I thought I was going to be like playing for somebody or something, ultimately playing. I don't think I was really going anywhere from a tennis perspective, but I thought I'd be playing in college. So we decided, I'll go to tennis camp. It was a lot more running than I expected. But and that was fine, except at one point they had us running through cornfields, which kind of freaked me out because I did not grow up in.
How does that make you a better tennis player?
I don't know. It made me run faster. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I did not want to get left behind in the cornfield. So that was interesting.
Could they get away with that today?
I don't think so.
That hasn't aged well. Not a good tactic.
No, I don't think so. Although, you know what? Today they'd have cameras on every corner, so I think it would still be okay.
Yeah. I feel like Child Protective Services would be on, manning like one of the corn feeders.
Exactly. No, it was pretty funny. It was pretty intense. And then maybe that lightened it up a little bit. But yeah, we ran through cornfields. Everyone ran very quickly. Best times ever.
I think that's the first time someone mentioned running through cornfields and tennis camp on my show. In 20 years.
I'm pretty sure.
Very impressive. So I entered the agency world out of like plan B.
Yeah.
I got sick and I couldn't go to grad school. People know my story. And I just happened to be good with computers. And in like the 90s, computers sucked. And finding tech people was kind of like a needle in the haystack. And I was a good tech kid. And that's how I kind of like fell into the advertising industry and eventually moved into the brand creative, whatever. You somehow fell into it also.
I did. And it's interesting. So as a little kid, I always wanted to do advertising jingles. I do not do advertising jingles, but I studied.
Wait, now you have to tell me some of your favorites. You can't just get away with that.
Oh, I used to love the Sprite commercials. You love the Sprite in You, and there was a few other ones.
Doublemint?
Doublemint, of course, Doublemint. But everybody loves Doublemint. But Mentos. Oh, Meow Mix. I'm a huge cat fan, so I will not sing that for everybody, but Meow Mix for sure, which kind of cracked me up. But then I really got into marketing and business strategy as I started studying, and I started working at one point for a number of consulting firms, small and large, and then Ernst & Young, and it was just I really wanted to get back to my jingle heritage, so I ultimately went to Digitas. I had an opportunity to join Digitas, and I was part of the strategy and analytics team, so it was a good bridge into the agency world.
Officer?
I was the chief jingle officer for sure, definitely within the strategy department. Do not tell the creative folk. And then ultimately, I worked on some pretty big accounts, American Express and Delta and Nike, and I really loved it, working on strategy and analytics type projects. But I did want to do something over time a little bit more, meaningful to me. Every day we're working long hours and whatnot. And so eventually Digitas wanted to launch a health practice. And so it started in Philadelphia, and then we were going to launch it in New York, and I became part of that initial team.
Was this pre or post .com?
This was post.com.
Okay. Because we tend to forget how terrible .com was.
Yeah. No, this was for a little further on. But it was really time for the healthcare industry to start to, it was really time for the healthcare agency to up their game from a digital presence perspective. And I loved the opportunity to take what I'd learned working on these other big CPG brands and bring it to health and help some of these amazing brands better connect with people. It was, for me, that was, we have to do better. We can do better. Let's do it.
I don't know if you knew this about me, but my first job was at Harrison Star.
Oh, really? I did not know that. I did not know that.
I stumbled. Allow me to tell you the story, because Gen Zers hate the story of how I got the job at Harrison Star. And you're going to nod your head. Of course, that's how we got jobs in the 90s at any agency, is I looked at the Sunday Times.
Yep.
And I circled all the things that said Mac guy needed, right? It's was that a Mac guy needed, please, consulting, full-time, whatever it was. And who had resumes back then? So I just made one up in Word on my, I'm staring at my old Macintoshes on the shelf behind you. The one that tan classic up there, that was my computer.
Oh my God.
So I wrote my resume on that thing. And then back then you had to take it to the pharmacy to fax it on the smelly paper. Into the agency. And this was on a Sunday with the Times. I got a call on Monday to my parents' yellow rotary phone.
That's great.
Can I talk to Matt? Can you come in for an interview tomorrow on Tuesday? I got the job on Thursday.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Doesn't happen that way anymore.
No, not at all.
But I met Larry Starr, Tom Harrison. I met the whole crew.
Wow. And
having that job, even though I was fixing computers, I just felt like I belonged somewhere, and people didn't know I was the sick kid anymore.
Yeah.
So did you feel agency culture, when done right, has that sense of self?
Yeah, I mean, I actually love the agency culture. That was one of the things that kept me in it for so long. I just felt like over time you'd work together for, on pitches and on, different lines of business, and you just ended up being a family. You traveled together, you laughed together, you cried together. I mean, you went through all of it, and created new things, which was amazing. Came up with ideas. For me, one of the best things is all the innovation sessions I would run, right? So I was strategy and innovation, depending on the agency.
What did innovation mean back then? It's this very user-defined term.
Yeah, I mean, it was just doing something, especially in the healthcare space, it was doing something probably that we brought from CPG over.
Right.
Right? It wasn't, so innovative. We used to talk about smart digital, right? So smart digital at the time could have been literally just basic personalization of a site. So just having a different experience for different audiences. Today, it's wait, we have different experiences for every person.
Yes.
Back then it was, okay, let's have a different experience if somebody's, coming in from this, this driver versus that driver, right? That was innovation.
Were you part of the Health 2.0 narrative? Remember that?
I don't actually remember exactly what that was, but I'm sure we really just talked about, how do we push things? How do we start to deploy more like what we would call multi-channel or omni-channel or things like that?
Well, that's what Web 2.0 was.
Exactly.
Instead of just very sort of dormant push, there was a back and forth now.
Exactly. And trying to get people to engage with your brand. I think that was a big shift, right? So everything went from just push to how do we have push up more of a push-pull environment, a more personalized environment, experience, I should say. Well, that's the other thing. It's funny because everything went from an ecosystem to an experience. And the brand experience comes from the non-healthcare space. So how do you create an amazing brand experience for the different individuals coming to your site? And that's where a lot of my focus has been now, really understanding who we're talking to and what do they need as individuals.
Well, how do you feel about this? I'll posit the following, and I'm on the record of saying this for 20 years. Healthcare is an empty mall you don't want to shop inside of, with no directory and no greeters, and none of the stores have signs on them, and there's basically white labeled things on the shelf with prices you don't know about because someone else buys it for you, and yet you pay for the privilege of being in the mall you don't want to shop in. That's not CPG. That's I don't want to be here.
Yeah. No, I mean, nobody wants to be, not healthy. Right. I mean, I think that's the thing. And that's the thing that I spend a lot of time, especially working so much in the cancer and oncology space, right? We're talking to somebody that they're at a place in their life as we talked about it, Matt. It's like this is this oh shit moment in their life, and they just have something that's just like run them over. I mean, you lived it, and it's how can we help them? They don't even know what they need.
Yes.
They don't know where they're going, but we do. Like we do to a certain extent. Like and we're what I'm doing now is I'm trying to take everything I've learned from working with all the some of the largest oncology brands and healthcare brands and CPG companies, just to help individuals that are in this moment really understand what they need to do to help themselves.
Is it possible, and you're going to say maybe yes or no, and I kind of know what you're going to say already anyway, to truly make cancer a consumer experience?
I don't know if I would call it a consumer experience, but I talk a lot about breaking down the complexity of cancer, right? So we all spend all this time comparing cars, phones, TVs, so that we can get the right product for us and our lifestyle. And at expertpatient.com, that's truly what we're trying to do, because it's really about being more empowered and more of an active participant in your healthcare decisions. Because today people aren't, and I understand it. They shut down. I get it. It's complex and it's overwhelming. But what we're trying to do, and a lot of other people are trying to do, is break it down. Because if you participate and you are actively involved in the decisions, you literally will have, in most instances, better outcomes. And there's a lot of research around that.
Well, when I was running Stupid Cancer, I'll take the clinical out of it for a second.
Yeah.
I ran it like a brand. Livestrong was a great brand.
Yeah.
Stupid Cancer was built by the way, Interbrand and Ruder Finn and Jack Morton helped me build the Stupid Cancer brand. It was really built out of agency to serve a very specific purpose.
For sure.
I think that's part of the reason it was very successful, is because I was looking at it from this perspective. Young adults with cancer don't want to be there, but they want to be given permission to be angry. Nike doesn't do that. Nike gives you permission to feel like you're fat and wear shoes now, right? Thank you, Nike. But here's a market, literally a consumer market in my mind, of people that are in that mall that need to be greeted by somebody that says, I'm sorry you're here.
Yeah.
And where is that empathy coming from? And where I'm going with this is that I wanted to give people what they didn't know they needed, which is what you said before.
Exactly.
How do they know what they don't know they need?
Exactly. And I think that's why, for us, I talk about this. I want to scream from the rooftops to tell people they need to be more engaged and feel more empowered to ask questions, to be in front of what they've got going on in their life at that moment. Like at the beginning of that, that journey, at that first diagnosis moment, you need to sort of say, okay, this sucks, but I'm going to learn as much as I can, including what are my different treatment options, and help my doctors figure out what makes sense for me and my life and my family. If someone's saying, hey, you got to go to the infusion center every 3 weeks, but I don't have money or transportation or whatnot, that's not the right treatment for you, right? Like it just isn't going to work. So it's about, really for me, I want to give people the opportunity to say, yeah, I can learn, as much as I can. Obviously, everyone can't learn everything about what's going on in my body, and be part of that conversation.
But there's a delta between who the person is and how much congenital chutzpah they have to be that proactive individual out of the gate versus being scared, intimidated from a culture that is innately distrustful of the entire system. Everyone's a snowflake. It's literally N of one. And where do you intervene is the open conundrum.
No, I agree. And I mean, if I had enough money, I would tell everybody their first stop should be somewhere like expertpatient.com. Because look, you're going on a trip to Italy. You'll spend a year, 6 months, 3 months learning the language. You get a cancer diagnosis. You literally are like, oh my God, I have to learn this new language, the language of cancer, by tomorrow.
Yeah.
And your life depends on it, right? So I'm giving permission, and I'm giving people a place to go to just better educate themselves, at least to some extent, or to invite their caregiver to say, help me understand this, and to work together so they can have a better start to this journey that's gonna be tough. There's no way to sugarcoat it, but at least they could be, more involved, more empowered, and hopefully a little less stressed, a little bit more understanding of what's to expect. And then with that, you can plan your life, right? And push through it and hopefully get to a better place and feel a little bit more in control of the situation, because it's out of control.
It's completely out of control.
And more people, and to your point, more and more young people are getting a cancer diagnosis. It's horrific.
Yep.
When I first started this in 2021, I would talk to people and they'd say, oh my God, yeah, my mom had a diagnosis, or my dad or I did. Now I talk to people and it's my mom and my uncle, my son and my sister. Mm-hmm. It's just this rampant disease, and we need to give people better education. All these treatments, and there's so much money going into research and treatments, and it's amazing. But there's been very little evolution or improvement in the education that we're giving to people. And we need to do better. Like, we have to do better, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm on the record as like, all this stuff is fantastic, but if you don't know it exists and you can't afford it, what good is it?
Exactly.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
I want to get back and talk about why expert patient has no E. All right, we'll be right back.
Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
Looking for your best sleep ever? Sleep Number smart beds are literally made for you. They adapt to your changing needs. So whether you're dealing with sore muscles or running hot at night, your bed automatically adjusts for optimal comfort. Want softer, firmer, cooler, warmer? With personalized firmness settings and temperature control that cools up to 20 times faster than leading competitors, you'll get the perfect sleep environment every night. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. The only bed that lets you make each side firmer or softer whenever you like. Your Sleep Number setting. And now, it's the Sleep Number 4th of July sale. Save over $600 on the Sleep Number P5 King Smart Bed, the lowest price of the season. Limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
Talk to me about when you decided it was time to leave the social complacency of what I still think is an amazing ecosystem of the agency world, and venture off into this Carl Sagan-like exploration of sorts.
No, absolutely. So I was sitting in a meeting with leadership from one of the biggest pharma companies, a huge pharma oncology brand, and we were talking about new data that was going to be coming out from a competitor. And we were talking about how, wow, we wish we could give the reps like side-by-side comparison of our data versus theirs. But we can't do that because the studies aren't apples to apples. So it's going to be, really hard to communicate that to the doctors. And it's going to be, another data set coming at them. And there's a lot of different launches and a lot of different data sets. And it's going to be overwhelming for the oncologists and for the practices. And I just kept thinking, wow, oh my God, if it's overwhelming for the practices, the experts, the poor patients and caregivers on the other side of that, trying to make sense of it all. And it just sort of clicked. And I just said, look, I love what I'm doing and I love working on these amazing brands that are advancing treatment for sure. But I want to try to take everything I've learned and bring it to the patient and caregiver side and pour it into an area that just hasn't improved over the last 5-10 years even.
So what's the intervention? How do people know you exist? Where do they find you? And if they're lucky enough to do so, what happens?
So we spend a lot of our time talking at different conferences, talking to different advocacy groups, and they promote expertpatient.com as a resource for their communities, which is amazing. I also do a lot of talks like this. I'm happy to participate in basically anything to really spread the word. And you laugh. So I'll do a lot of entrepreneurial events. I'll do a lot of women in business events, a lot of small business events. I once followed at one conference someone that was promoting. It was like a Shark Tank event, and And I'm not even joking. The woman before me was talking about warm cookies, and she gave her 3-minute pitch on warm cookies, and I had to then give a 3-minute pitch on cancer education, and it was just
that's a rough opening act.
It was really rough, but from my perspective, anytime I have an opportunity to talk about you have an opportunity to have better education for someone like yourself or someone that you love that's going through a cancer journey, I'm going to talk about it. And I have a huge network of individuals that are out there. I have some amazing advisors that are very vocal. Loriana Hernandez is
shout out.
Is an advocate of mine. She's an advisor of mine, and so we do a lot. As much as we can. As a startup. I mean, we were truly a startup, but we are always looking for opportunities. I sit on a lot of panels. I've been at the M&M.
Someone's got to change that.
I've been on panels at the M conferences, and it's just continuing to build. We were just actually written up in Time magazine. They were asking me.
I have that note here. I did my homework. 10 questions you should always ask your doctor.
Yeah, it was amazing. They reached out to me, and for me, that's perfect. And while I focus today mostly on the cancer space, it really applies to any space.
I would flip it. 10 questions your doctor should ask you.
Oh, yeah, but they're not. So you need to ask the questions. That's the point.
Yes.
And I mean, I love that they're taking it on. In fact, the Time Magazine team was amazing because what they were sharing with me is they're getting so much traction with this type of content that they want to do more and more of it. And they're actually going to start to run campaigns around helping people have better health-related conversations, which from my perspective is, it's an incredible shift from some of the other things that they've been focusing on.
I also saw you won some kind of award from PM360.
We just won, we've won a lot. I think we've won at this point about 8 or 9 awards, but we won a Consumer Tech and Wellness Award in 2024 for innovation. We've won many, many digital health awards. We won in PM360, we won Most Innovative Startup in 2022. So we've got quite a bit of momentum, super excited. And I'm just hoping that all of these awards really help us reach more of the people we're trying to reach.
I was the first patient advocate that ever wrote with Anna.
Oh my God.
Stashower.
Okay.
And Rip Mark, but he was a great guy. And I was intentionally asked to be controversial. Because as I am just preternatally that kind of person, they had never had a sort of a dissenting, angry patient voice writing for PM360.
Yeah.
So my columns are all called, it was a stupid cancer column, but it's like, it's all about this stupid. It's all about this. It's all about compliance stupid. Right. It's all about your budget stupid. It's all about your lawyers stupid. Right. And they loved it. So I have an affinity for PM360. I'm glad they recognized you for doing that.
It was amazing. And they were one of the first groups to recognize us, which we're really proud of because they look at a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
PM360 they spend a lot of time and a lot of effort finding, people that are doing truly innovative things and things that are disrupting the industry. So I was really proud that they picked us up in 2022 and then again in 2024 as we worked to evolve the site. We did a bit of an optimization, or I should enhancement in 2024, where we added a financial services directory where you can basically find financial support from both from all the different pharma brands, like really easily. That's one of the tricky things. There's a lot of money available for treatment support, but a lot of people don't find it. And so we made it incredibly easy. And then we also added in a functionality where you can find a top hospital near you. So
you're kind of TripAdvisor for cancer.
So we're starting to become a little bit of TripAdvisor for cancer, yeah.
It's the trip you didn't want to take, though.
Yes, it is the trip you Yes, it is interesting. I spent a lot of time talking about cancer. It's just such an important area. But yeah, it's definitely nothing I dreamed of when I was thinking jingles as I was a kid.
Yeah, what's the jingle?
There's no jingle. If somebody out there has a jingle for me, I would love to hear it.
But I have a jingle.
We hope you don't have cancer, but if you do, this show's for you. The Stupid Cancer Show.
I wrote an a cappella piece for a 6-part barbershop a cappella piece. And the lyrics are, we hope you don't have cancer, but if you do, this show's for you. The Stupid Cancer Show. My God, that was so disruptive. It worked so well.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I'll get that to him. All right, so someone gets to expertpatient.com. What do they expect? Is it the mall directory? It's Travelocity? It's Zagat? What is it?
No. Expert Patient is an incredible opportunity for having more personalized education when they've first been diagnosed. So you'll come in and you might say, I have stage 2 breast cancer. And all the information will then be tailored to you. So your diagnosis information is then only related to stage 2 breast cancer. Then when you look at your treatment options, it's completely tailored to stage 2 breast cancer, right? So, hopefully you only have one type of cancer you're dealing with. And so expertpatient.com gives people the opportunity to have all the other extraneous information filtered out and give you what you need.
We talked about how your agency experience kind of informed your understanding of this antithetical market.
Yeah.
How did your personal experience inform this?
My personal experience has been something that actually kicked in after I started this. So I was about 2 years.
So you caused it. Good.
So I was about 2 years. I was actually about 2 years into the project, and I got that call that nobody wants to get, and she's fine, but my mom had breast cancer, and I ended up being I wouldn't call myself the caregiver. I was more the care partner, but I was the person that went with her to different doctor's appointments, and I lived through that. It's really hard to ask questions in those situations. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to prepare. It's really hard to tell the doctor that, that's not the way I want to approach things. Or you're with one of the top centers and you just don't like the guy. You thought he was, I can't remember if I can curse on it. He was an asshole. And
there you go. Have you met me? Have you met the show?
And so, fuck. And so we, it was tough, but it was amazing because when I got into this one appointment with my mom, she'd printed out the questions I'd listed on expertpatient.com for someone with stage 2 breast cancer.
Wait, did you know she did that?
I did not.
That's awesome.
And it was amazing. And she was like, she looked at me and she's like, this was really helpful.
Were you welcomed or disdained by a doctor that was not prepared or maybe prepared for someone coming with like full stack knowledge?
It's interesting. After we got rid of the asshole doctor and the doctors we did embrace the ones that embraced us, they actually loved what we were doing. And as time has gone on, we have found more and more doctors and HCPs actually helping patients and caregivers find our site, which is, for me, that's an incredible feat because you just never know how people are going to respond, to your point. This was actually a really interesting aha moment. I had a second cancer journey come into my family. And unlike the first, I was not invited to the appointments and I was not given all the information. And I realized at that moment, and this is actually why I want to add more caregiver content to expertpatient.com, which it hasn't been the focus, that there are different types of patients and you need to be potentially a different type of caregiver or care partner to those different types of individuals. And for me, it was an aha moment. I was pissed. That this other person in my life did not want to share with me what was going on or invite me to every appointment or to even just give me the updates, where on the first round, I was there every step of the way. And that was really a big change for me. And I think that's something, unfortunately, people are going to start to deal with multiple diagnoses in their families and in their friend groups, and they're going to have to adapt to. And that was really interesting to me and really hard. But now I feel like I'm a much better person for it. I get it.
I had a variant of that happen when I was running Stupid Cancer. I ran into a young nurse who had just had breast cancer. She was at Hopkins. And she was not aware of Stupid Cancer, and yet we were at Hopkins as a nonprofit partner. This was back in the day where there were like libraries and flyers and paper before the internet. And she said something to me that I initially took the wrong way, but I really understood what she meant in hindsight. It's like, I don't need you guys now, but it's nice to know you're there. I was like, how do you not need us? Right? Like, I was like, of course you need us. But I understood what she meant. And in this particular case, there are going to be people who just don't need us.
Right. Or they just approach life differently.
Right.
Or, so where you and I might have a long conversation and in-depth conversation, some people, they just can't deal with it. They just have to sort of go through the steps in their own way. And then there's people like us that just have to be okay with that, which it's really hard to hold back sometimes. But
you have a moment of zen from like feedback of people who benefited?
I do. I have one woman. So sometimes, starting something new and disrupting, and people say, why do we need another cancer site? Why do we need another health education site? And there's a couple things that stand out for me. And one is there's this amazing guy. He basically said, Risa, everyone's going to say no to you no matter what they say, just keep going.
Yeah.
And then there was a woman who was There was this one woman, her husband had pancreatic cancer, and he was stage 4, and she called me and she said, Risa, your site is the only site that gave me hope.
Wow.
And it gives me chills and joy to this day, because you just never know. You never know how you're touching or reaching people. And so on those like shitty days when I just feel like, oh no, we're not going to get a new sponsor or make our, bills early on. Like I just think of that, and it just helps me get up and get going.
What is a typical thing that a patient would get wrong every time by accident?
They don't typically ask, have you treated somebody like me?
Oh, that hits home emotionally. That was my, Jesus, you just pulled like a synapse from 30 years ago when I haven't ever told what I'm about to tell you. So after my surgery, when they wanted to do radiation, my dad asked the radiation oncologist at the hospital, how many of these have you done on people like my son? My father, I'm getting all emotional. I remember the moment we were there at the hospital. It was probably early February, 96. The guy's name was Gil Lederman. I don't know why I'm pulling all this crap out of him. And my dad's like, how many patients? I didn't ask the question. My father asked my caregiver. He was 47. I'm 51 now. I have perspective on what that was like. How many patients have you ever treated with medulloblastoma after surgery? He said, none. And we said, goodbye.
Right. It's crazy. I mean, people have to ask the questions. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, I understand that a lot of people can't get to some of the, the major cancer centers, but there's also a lot of free services that help people get to some of the centers if you have a more rare cancer. And that's the other thing on expertpatient.com. We're really trying to pull up some of the services, the free services that are available to folks that might not be near some of the larger cancer centers. And there's a lot from the American Cancer Society, and there's a couple of others that can help people actually get travel support.
Ever perseverate on whether this should be a .org?
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
I ask because I feel like there's always a stigma when there's a .com, and people don't realize that there can be altruism and authenticity and trust with a .com, but .org always seems to be like this smoother entry into trust.
I think that's really interesting. So when we first started, we made it a .com. The idea being we're looking to get sponsors for each of the 14 cancer centers, right? So right now we cover about 90% of those that are diagnosed with cancer, and we match very nicely with what the pharmaceutical brands are trying to reach, right? It's a very efficient stage 2 breast cancer, for example, and there's brands that are indicated for stage 2 breast cancer. And so it's a really nice win for the patient to have tailored information, and a win for the brands to have very much the audience they're looking to engage with and have their story in front of them. And so the idea was that we would take the sponsorship dollars and continue to grow the platform. And it's always been the vision. And ultimately, right, this idea of better education, we started it in cancer because it's so complex.
Yes.
And if we could
shiniest object ever.
And if we could break it down for cancer and help people do better, feel more empowered, then we could do it for any type of diagnosis.
Yeah.
And that's the vision, right? Well, today it's oncology. Tomorrow it could be rheumatology and people going through, it could be anything. And so because the foundation is I have a better understanding of my diagnosis. I understand my FDA-approved treatment options. I'm thinking, does a clinical trial possibly make sense for me? I'm comfortable with that too. And then I'm preparing a list of questions that make sense given my cancer type and stage. And so that model applies to any disease area. And our vision is if we can break it down and be successful in oncology, in the cancer space, and break down the complexity, then we can then break it down for anybody.
All right, final question before the lightning round.
Yeah.
You ever feel a sense of terrible burden being an arbiter of resources for patients?
I actually don't. So all of the content on expertpatient.com, the foundation is cancer.gov and the NCCN guidelines. And then we basically took that content and reshaped it so it's much easier to understand.
You lay spoke it.
I spoke it.
I just made a word up.
You did. I like it. But we reshaped it, but not just the language, but also the way we've broken it down, the color palette, everything about expertpatient.com is supposed to be inviting to someone and give them a bit of, okay, I can take a little bit more control over this. So the color palette, we selected all of the psyche around the site, from the words, the imagery, the color palette, everything about it is to basically help people take pause and take a moment and hopefully get a bit of a better education on this new journey they're on.
We're sorry you hear shit you didn't need to know, but we're telling you anyway.
Yes, exactly. And it's all right. And it's all 100% based on credible sources, trustworthy content and whatnot. So,
all right. Lightning round is basically I take advantage of AI for good, not Skynet killing the planet.
Okay.
And I ask it a question about my guests, but I feed it as much information as possible. The question I ask AI after feeding the question I ask AI after feeding it all information about my guests is, if Risa Arin's life were a Netflix series, what 3 pop culture spirit guides from the 70s, 80s, or 90s would she be? No one has ever guessed, so don't try to guess. I'm just going to tell you what AI thinks you are.
Okay.
I agree with this. And it's amazing to me every time it spits out the most random things that are so nichely tailored, nichely, another word, to my guests. You are a combination of Murphy Brown, because you don't wait to be asked. You say the thing that needs to be said and you get shit done. You are Angela Chase from My So-Called Life, because you feel everything deeply, you question everything out loud, and you somehow make vulnerability a power move. And you are Mrs. Frizzle from The Magic School Bus.
The Magic School. Oh my God, I love
because you break the rules, you drive the bus, you teach people more than school ever could.
Oh my God. So the funniest thing about that is I love all of that. But when we used to talk about doppelgangers and all the rest of it back in the day, Murphy Brown was who would come up.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Well, there you go. AI is creepy and it knows, and whether it kills us or not, it's serving a purpose right now on the show. Risa Arin, on a mission to help people live healthier lives. Wegmans aficionado, Cornell graduate, founder of xpatient.com. There's no E.
Expert.
XPERT patient.com. Link in the bio and the description. Long time coming. So thrilled you're here.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Matt. Love it.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.